the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and the ExoMars rover, and the three of them are active as of now. So basically, with these missions, we were able to find ice in the subsurface of Mars, and to show that Mars and the Earth, they share the same history. So I still remember, and there are many young people here in this room, when I started my PhD on that in 1997, so I don't know how many years from now. So that should be like 15 years from now. 15 years from now, everyone say that everything we're doing on Mars is very crazy. And this is not science. The science is more other stuff. And in fact, in 2008, 10 years, we were on the first page of the Science magazine. And as you know, Science magazine is the most respected journal in science. And what we found on Science, and we published it here, we mapped the poles of Mars, and we show how the poles of Mars have many layers. You see, what you see here in the pictures, that Mars, the poles of Mars have layer after layer after layer. So why this went to the first page of Science magazine? I will tell you why. When you look at this, you find the poles, the layers and the poles mean that the polar ice on Mars has been made on a long episodes of time, and it was made by water ice. That means that water has stayed on Mars as long as it has stayed on the Earth today. And what does that tell you? If water has stayed so long on Mars to make these layers, this means that the life could have potentially evolved on Mars. It means that all of us today, we may not be the first generation of living people in the solar system. We could be the second generation living on this solar system. So this is a fundamental question about, are we alone? Are there other peoples? Is life unique to our planet? And it would be ridiculous to think that we are alone in this universe. Let me give you a simple example, because the conditions for life and the elements for life are everywhere on the universe. This is just an example, like in Doha, all the houses, they have the eggs, the water, and they have eggs. All houses have eggs, and you think that only you can eat an omelet at your home. They also can make omelets in their home because they have the same constitution of that dish. It's exactly the same. So from there, at this moment, I think this is very important. Once we were on the Science magazine and all the newspapers were talking about finding water on Mars, and this was a big achievement, I thought at this moment we were on the maximum, on the top of the achievement we can do. And let me tell you something important. Never be on the top of anything. If you think that you're successful and you reach the top, the only road from the top is to go down. Unless you put for yourself another challenge to continue to go up. And that's what we did. I thought, now that we find water on Mars, let's find it on our own planet. Why we don't apply the same technique we used on Mars to find water in desertic regions? And we started the program to look for water in these places, in Egypt, Libya, and in Sudan, in Saudi Arabia, and in Kuwait, using the same technology we had on Mars. And we went on the field, and we did one experiment in 2002 in Egypt, and we find it was successful. But then we had recommendations from NASA to try to do this in orbital way. So my boss, he told me, if you want to show that this is work, I am giving you 90 days exactly to show me how you can build a satellite mission that uses the same Mars technology to do it for desertic environment. So I had $1.2 million and 90 days to do this mission. And that's not a lot of money, by the way. And when you work alone in a project, so you have to find the people. So in 90 days, I have to find the people. So on the day one, I remember someone that I had with me in school, and he was in Kuwait, and when we were in Tunisia. So I called him. I told him, listen, I have 90 days, I have $1.2 million, and we need to do a satellite mission. He told me, are you crazy? I mean, you're calling here, are you crazy? I mean, this cannot be done. I said, let's try it. And then I went and met with him in Kuwait, and we have many people, as you see in this room. And then in the third day, we have an experiment, and we convinced the people in Kuwait to give us an airplane to put the prototype of the satellite on it, and then to start to make the flights we needed to do in Kuwait to prove that this technology will work in the Sahara. And then we went back to NASA, we built the instrument, and then we came back to do the field work in Kuwait, which was supposed to demonstrate the technology. A surprise when we come, that equipment we had was stuck in the customs. Equipment from NASA, they don't have any paperwork that's understandable by people. So our equipment was stuck when we came back. So we had two options, to stop or to build the instruments in 3 days in Kuwait. So imagine, this is an instrument that was built in NASA for 2 months, and now we have to build it in Kuwait for 3 days. And we took the second option. We said, let's do it. And we put everyone to work, and we started to build that. And I remember the antenna of the radar we use. It is an antenna that is used in the communications. And so we find an engineer in Kuwait who worked in the TV. We went to his house. We wake him at midnight. We told him, listen, this is NASA. We have to do this and this. And now you're working with us. We have 24 hours to do an antenna. And he came and he did it. And then after 8 days, we built the whole system and we were able to integrate it on board the aircraft. So now, can you imagine an aircraft that belonged to the Kuwaiti army that have a system built by NASA and Kuwait that no one knows how it works, and it's going to be flying on the country to map water. And that's what actually we did. So after 82 days, the story still get even more nasty, I would say. We wanted to fly over the north of Kuwait, where there is the fresh aquifers, but then we find that this is a military zone. So what can we do? So the Kuwaiti Air Force decided that they will fly there, whatever other consequences, and we fly it very low. So we are below the radars, because our experiments need to fly low, and we were able to do that. And this is our flight path. And so we have only 8 days left to show that our method will work. And exactly in the 90 days, we have 8 days, each day, the storms, we couldn't fly, technical problem. And in the last day, we were able to have this nice figure. The figure you see here, the surface is what you see in black, and the aquifer is 50 meters deep, and that is that line. And this is for the first time an aquifer that is mapped in a direct way using an airborne platform. And this shows that what we can do on Mars, we can do on the Earth. So I made a phone call to my boss and tell him, am I still in this job or I was fired? He told me, depends on what you're going to say. So I say that, yes, we find it. It works. He told me, okay, I'm giving you 90 more days. And then we were able to put the Oasis mission, which is a satellite mission that has a total budget of $167 million to explore water in the whole Arab world, I mean, the whole Sahara. And this mission was done with is a planned mission in contribution with NASA, the Italian Space Agency, and the Kuwait Institute for Science and Research. So this is an example to show you that you have 6 months to do something, and you have to do it. But in life, you learn a very important experience, that the people who decide for you are not the people you like the most. There could be potentially people who don't like you so much, who don't believe in what you do so much, and you need always to not expect anything from anyone except yourself. And I think this is how we were able to build that. We did not expect anyone from NASA to help or anyone from any other place. We built everything in our own when we were in the field with the Kuwait Institute for Science Research, and that was a success. So that's a design, by the way, of the satellite. So the complete design, and amazingly, the Kuwaitis contributed to the antenna. It's the same antenna they built in the shop, went to the same orbital mission. So, and now we have the program. So now we extended the field work with the airplane, with a bigger airplane, and we're flying more bigger system in the future in Kuwait. So a part of my life also that I wanted to tell you, that everything I learned about what we do on Mars, I learned it from my background of living in the desert. For someone who's born in the desert and spent his life looking for water on the planets, that's really, I think, the amazing experience I thought I was lucky to have. And I think this is, every day I go to work and we design these rovers that goes on Mars, that goes on the moon to explore the planets. Every day is a dream by itself. And these show you some of the life we have every day at work. So we design these rovers, and they can see an example of the MSL rovers, a small example, before it was launched. And then we teach these rovers how to work with the astronaut, and we make a simulation for the landing on the moon, the return on the moon, and how we're going to establish the bases on the moon. So can you believe that your work is to establish bases on the moon? It's crazy, but it is very true. I never thought one day we'll be doing that. So my team on the field, we have these mobile centers you see here, and that's the rest of the team. And of course, the rest of the team also, that without them, nothing could have been done. And we train the astronauts, so real astronauts, and it was a nice experience to train them how to find water in desertic environment. And again, this is where your background is very useful. So if you live, because you lived in the desert, because you understand how water is important, here you are, you train astronauts and teach them how they can find ice and water on the moon. So I never thought that one day I'll be working with the astronauts. My dream was never to be an astronaut. My dream was never even to work in NASA or to be a space scientist. I had one small single dream, that I would like to learn something that I would love. And that dream has come because when I was at the university, I knew that whatever the degree I will have, I will not have a job, because all jobs require that people will call for you, and I was sure that no one will call for me to find a job. So I decided to study astronomy because I liked astronomy. And I was not at all thinking one day that we're going to be training these astronauts. And actually, these are the astronauts on the rover that I show, and the instruments we help them to find the water is what they're looking at the screen here. And this when they find the samples we buried for the ice for them in the subsurface. So, and that's me when I try. So before teaching the astronauts, you have to be in the suit of the astronaut and learn and what they will do. And by the way, being the astronaut suit is not something nice. Do you know that for these who like fashions, I have many of my friends, they are very involved into the fashions, big cars, and many clothes that are very expensive. I don't like this stuff. But when I'm asked, someone asked, I wear the suit that is most expensive on the planet. The astronaut suit is $18 million. It's more expensive than the dress the Princess Diana has. And when someone asks me about my car, say my car is $1.2 billion. I drove the most expensive car. And it is true, they may not, they may not look so nice as many other stuff, but it's nice. And finally, I will remind you that this is the real picture of the landing on Mars. And these are the first images we got from Mars. And again, I would never believe one day that you will have all the news, CBS, CNN, Fox News, they talk about the work that we've done in the Sahara. The Sahara was for everyone a charity program. We are only on the map of the charity of the world. And I think the biggest adventure that we changed is that we are on the science map of the world. We're not the charity. And charity will never help anyone. Have you ever